Back with more Haunting of Bly Manor. This is episode 7. Very excited to carry on. See what's going to happen next. It's been a few days since I've been able to record one of these, so I've kind of been, desperate to kind of get back at it and see what's going to happen next. So, yes, I'm excited. Last episode focused a lot on Henry, some revelations about him, his own kind of demons that are haunting him, the revelation that he is Flora's biological father. So that's a bit of a mess, but now he's headed off to Bly because he's finally realised that something's definitely quite wrong. So he's on his way. We're kind of getting all the major players to Bly, I think, for the last couple of episodes where things are really going to kick off more than they did before somehow. We also had Danny get knocked unconscious, which was lovely. But I think that might be the kids like protecting her, or maybe I think it was Miles who did it, so I think maybe he's possessed by Peter again in that moment or something. I don't know, I'm sure they'll explore that now. But yeah, things are certainly escalating. Danny saw Rebecca's ghost as well as Peter's, so it's all kicking off. I'm excited, and let's get into the next one. Oh boy.
Sometimes right can seem wrong and wrong can seem right.
Oh, you would say that.
That's the difference between children and adults.
It isn't always very convenient, and
Isn't it? Is this his mother?
For what you did to him.
For what I did to him.
He says it all the time.
Oh.
For what I did to him.
Oh, you're not a rich man, Petey.
No.
Just work for one, do you? Forgive me if I misread.
Priceless.
Oh man.
Not missing, I stole it.
So he kind of has like a complex over money, and that's why he'd nick everything.
he's still here.
Miles?
How lucky we are.
One of Owen's cooking physics classes again.
Oh yeah, it's a fine lecture.
It's chemistry.
Certainly is.
What's that?
I was gonna say, yeah. You two have lots of it.
Feels quite warm today, doesn't it?
You'll be cold in a bit.
Tell me what that pupillage talked about. All
Mm.
this drama. Quint.
Yeah, that's true.
imposition of it all. And if there is anything at all that I can do to help, please tell me. I'd be happy to do so.
Oh.
Thank you.
She's always talk about how she doesn't get close to people, but she does seem to really care about basically everyone she knows. Surprise.
Not everything has a half-life, does it?
Well, that's the position you two seem to be in at the minute. If you want to be stealthy, maybe don't wear heels. Oh. Not the ideal way to be inside your girlfriend.
That's what you say to me.
Ah, so this is like his big moment.
I have to go back. I have to go back. I have to go back.
Back to the future. Oh. Was she trying to escape with Peter in her body or something? Is that why she kills herself? To like
Peter?
be with him forever or something? Or Peter kills her?
I planned that I'll let us be together again. Touch each other and taste each other.
Oh my.
A lot simpler than you think, but it just boils down to you. It's up to you. I don't know. I don't know it exactly, but
It's not much of a plan then, is it?
We'll share it all, everything equals.
I promise.
Sure you do, pal. When two become one.
And he had spent too much of his life alone.
Oh god. Oh my god, you selfish bastard. You have to decide. He's gonna drown her while he's in control. Oh yeah, feel sad about it all you like, pal. I mean, I get he clearly didn't have a particularly great childhood or anything. And that's gonna fuck him up, but... I mean, look at this. Oh. Oh, look, there you are. Now you're together. Oh my god. Oh, that's so awful. Can you even imagine that just being it and it wasn't even your choice? Like, oh, God.
You just left me to do it alone.
Yeah, like, even not even staying in the body for it. The whole...
I agree.
Oh, Christ. That is not one for the gram. No, you didn't, you dick.
Look, you'll understand. Like,
Yeah, you go back to your shit memory.
I get to hop around into the warmest little memories, the nicest.
And he only has this one.
It's hell.
Shame.
It's like I'm in hell.
Shame that.
Well, where else would you go?
I was a kid back then. I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't know what it meant, and you were there. You were there to tell me that it was okay.
Oh,
That
God.
what he was doing was okay. You said that I was being silly, and you didn't stop him. Why didn't you stop him?
God.
He'd kill you if he knew where you were.
I did what you wanted.
I know he's a piece of shit, but what a performance. Jeez.
Tell me.
Oh, good. And we're back to this lovely situation.
And we're almost, we have to finish it now.
What's the plan here?
No, it's right. That special present that'll let Miss Jessel and I, well, let us be your friends. Your best friends.
Oh,
forever.
God.
And it's gonna save us.
Maybe we can wait until.
Wait until what?
She knows this is wrong, whatever it is.
That's
Oh!
what's gonna happen next. This
Oh,
is what happens.
God.
Miles, Flora. This is what happens to everyone who dies here at Bly.
Oh.
Think about you and me, and then think us as hard as you can. Just think us.
Nope.
There's nothing to worry about.
Not a fan.
In the forever house, just like we said.
With Mum and Dad.
That's right. With your mum and dad.
What's about Miss Clayton? What happened to her?
Nothing bad. Nothing bad, I promise you that.
I mean, it's a bit late for nothing bad to happen to her.
No more sadness. Ever again.
Oh, they're just grieving kids, you prick.
A safe place with two people who love you so much. I wish I could be that rich.
Oh, Miles, look at your little face. Ugh.
It's us.
No. Oh, God. What the fuck?
He's just a little dick on the house, isn't he?
Oh, hate this.
Hannah, you beautiful, beautiful thing. They say it takes a moment. We're all in our own time, it seems. But you just kept on dreaming.
A moment to realise that she's dead.
I was thinking about a cartoon I used to watch when I was little.
Oh, wow.
Wile E. Coyote. When Wile E. Coyote looked down, then he'd fall. Only when he looked down.
Oh, well.
You need to be put in your place.
Oh,
You need
God, you
to
suck. He can't stand that she's managed to hold on longer than he did.
beat me.
Oh, fuck you. That kid's a very good actor as well.
Lars is gone. might be too.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it because I'm dead.
Come on. Don't be her.
What did I do?
You did.
Yes! When she didn't say anything back to him, I thought maybe it wasn't
Don't see her anymore.
her.
Miles, it's too late.
Fuck.
But not for her. Get her away from here. Come on, quickly.
See, that's how much she loves others, like in a way Peter never could. He loves someone when it benefits himself. God. Oh shit! Oh God! Don't you dare end. Okay, another very good episode. It was cool. Well, cool was probably the wrong word for it because it's bloody awful. To kind of see how it all unfolded with Rebecca's death and how that all kind of played out, and to get more of an insight into Peter with the memory that he kept coming back to. I can imagine that driving someone quite mad, especially when it's a memory that's quite traumatic for him. And I think it was cool to explore that side of him that doesn't justify or excuses what he does and his actions, but I think we do have some reasons for why he is the way he is now. Clearly, I think he got a lot from his father. I think it's often what you hear people say, you know, if someone gets bullied, more often than not, they would then go on to be a bully themselves. I think that seems to be the situation here, and he's been fucked up since he was a kid. You know, a lot of hints, I think, that his father abused him. In exactly what way, I think they did kind of leave purposely vague, but I think we can assume he clearly went through some fucking horrendous shit when he was a kid, and you know, you can't wish that on anyone, no matter your age. So that's going to muck him up. Also seems like his father was the king of gaslighting, changing the narrative, switching the situations, making people feel small, which obviously he then went on to do himself. I guess with his upbringing, he didn't know much better. His mother seems to be quite passive in everything that happened as well. That's going to be quite hard to kind of deal with. So it almost felt like, you know, if no one's telling him that this is wrong, even though he kind of feels in himself that it is, whatever his dad is doing to him, you know, that is going to make him feel very small and very lonely. So he's going to kind of grab onto any kind of connections he can form in later life, because he probably thought of himself as broken, particularly, you know, romantic connections. So yeah, that was a lot to deal with, but you know, it is reasons, not excuses, for everything Peter went on to do when he was alive and now he's dead. Because he's still, you know, you can understand why he does selfishly motivated shit and why he's so messed up, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he does very selfishly motivated shit and is very messed up. So to see a glimpse of that backstory, what he keeps going back to, it was interesting to kind of get inside his head a bit. And when he was trying to convince Miles to like give up his body, again, you know, there's a lot of, I think, issues about consent in this episode. The hints with like Peter and his father, that backstory, obviously I think there's a bit of something there. Him telling Rebecca, like, it has to be you, you know, you have to want me inside you. He was like taking over her body and stuff, trying to let them be together. It had to be her who decided, and then he still just took that consent away and bloody drowned her. And then again with the whole Miles and Flora situation, like they needed to consent, but he wasn't telling them the full story. He wasn't telling them exactly what it would mean for them. He was just like phrasing it and happy with, oh, you'll see your parents, even though he can't promise that. We're going to stay in this nice happy forever house, but he wasn't really telling them that he was just going to take their bodies. So they were again consenting to something that they didn't understand because he wasn't giving them the full picture, which is very much the case with the Rebecca situation as well. He probably fully knew what he needed to do in order for Rebecca to stay with him forever, but he didn't tell her that when he was like taking over her body. He waited until she was at like a vulnerable state. He even said like, "Oh, it's a lot simpler than you probably think," but wouldn't tell her exactly what that was because it just meant, well, you need to die. And God knows what would have happened if he could have left Bly. That's kind of the unfortunate thing. Maybe they would have just gone off and done something, and at least he wouldn't have been able to physically hurt her, but he still would have gone on to very emotionally manipulate her, even if they had just gone off together. So to see him kind of take that very selfish action and like drowning her while he's in control, and then leaving the body and putting her back in her body, allowing that to happen again just as she is drowning, fucking horrendous. So you can understand why he's so messed up, but I can't excuse it. He is an arsehole, and I hate him. And to then be like, let's manipulate these children so we can take their bodies as our own as well, so they can be together in that sense. It's just, how low can you fucking go to have to manipulate kids so you can like steal their body and like have a life like that? It's just, ugh. And because he finds Hannah so irritating in the way, and I think he was very jealous, I think, that she's managed to achieve long-term what would have been maybe a more ideal situation for him. And he can't have that. He can't have anyone be better at him than something, even in ghost form. So he's like, there you go, you're dead, ha, now you can leave. So he just couldn't stand someone, doing something better than him, I guess, having that more power. That's probably where a resentment built up from Henry as well. This boss who had all this money, so he started embezzling it and stealing stuff, because it's something he always wished he could have had. If he had that status and that power, he probably could have escaped the situation that he was in when he was growing up a lot sooner than he did. So I like the level of complexities they kind of gave Peter in this episode, even though, I think he's still very much the villain of the piece, and it doesn't excuse anything he did. It is cool to explore that backstory of him and see how messed up he really was, and to see the horrible things he did to Rebecca and to the kids in this episode as well. Just so manipulative, and it just comes from truly terrible parents, it would seem. So he clearly didn't have a very good upbringing. And when he was talking to Miles again, he's like, "Oh, you're going to be like the richest man in the world or whatever. You're the luckiest man. I wish I could be that rich." I think that kind of said it all in that moment. That's all he would have really wanted. It's like, if I could start again, that's what I would want for myself. And now he's going to try and give himself that, I guess, by embodying a child. And the actor, my God, I think the actor gave a phenomenal performance in this episode. I mean, the cast is always on top form, both in Hill House and in this. But that scene when he's like talking to his mother, why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you stop him? What a performance that was. Incredible. So yeah, the actor who plays Peter, I loved him in Hill House anyway. Luke was one of my favourite characters in Hill House, so maybe there's just some bias there with the actor, but he really killed it. The fact that I could go from loving him so much in Hill House to hating him so much in this, in terms of like his character and his performances, really quite impressive. You watch this and you completely forget, about any of the characters from Hill House. You forget about Luke when you're watching him be Peter. You forget about Nell when you're watching her play Danny. We haven't really seen much of, Carla, who played the mum in Hill House. You haven't really seen her face all that much since the first episode, but her voice, it's a bit easy to separate with that. But even then, you can appreciate that they're giving something a bit different to their performances, different accents, etc., etc. So yeah, everything with that was really interesting, and just the heartbreak and circumstances of Rebecca's death. I can't even imagine, suddenly, you've come to and you're in the middle of drowning, and he just left you so he didn't have to feel that for himself, I guess. God, it's horrendous. And the image, her life was ending because of this man who just kind of used her body. And like, well, the last thing she sees is that man's same body at the bottom of that lake. Oh, I can't even imagine. Oh, probably like I have such a terrible like fear of drowning and stuff. Like, oh, what a way to go. So to see that all unfold was just so horrendous. I did wonder a few episodes back, like, was it Peter who actually killed Rebecca? She didn't kill herself, but I wouldn't have imagined it played out quite in this way, because I didn't really know, what Peter was planning and everything, and his whole scheme with like Miles and Flora and stuff. And we always had those hints, just as Rebecca knew, I think in her heart of hearts, that it was wrong what Peter was planning and what she was trying to go along with. I do enjoy that she then went against him when it counted in that moment. She's like, no, screw this, and didn't take Flora over. So there's some hope there. If Miles is really just gone, like he's just given up his body now and that's it, that's awful. So I hope there's a way that they can undo that. I just don't know if they will. But for now, at least Flora is kind of safer. And I liked that Rebecca, when it counts, even though it was unfair how she died. And again, the actress was great in this episode. That scene where her like ghost is seeing her body floating and just like she's just screaming, it's like, that's it, that's my life, that's it, done. It was taken away from me, it wasn't even my choice. Really great performance again. But all that aside, even though it's so unfair that happened to her and it played out that way, she's still not going to let Flora die for another chance for her, because that's how much she cares about those kids. So she kind of, in the last minute, kind of saved her. I liked that, because Peter only had a positive relationship with them because he had his big plans for them, and he had, his own personal things to gain from it. When he's talking to Miles a few episodes back about keys and everything, and he's having these nice wholesome interactions with Flora, giving her flowers and stuff, that's all a means to an end, because he was trying to woo Rebecca. So to kind of see where it all led is just so horrendous. And the twisted way Flora's like, a few episodes back, she seemed to kind of have a bit of a crush on Peter a bit. And she's like, well, I'll try not to get jealous or something to do with the flowers. And then, in a twisted way, Peter's grand scheme was to kind of spend his life with someone in Flora's body. It's just all like twisted and gross and ugh. So to kind of see what the big plan was, I guess, and what still needs to happen, it was cool to finally get some answers about that, to see the full effects of Rebecca's death and what happened with that. See a lot of Peter's backstory and why he is the way he is, and just the extra twist and knife of what he did to Hannah, like making her realise she was dead again, forcing the end of someone's life on someone. I mean, not only because he killed Hannah in the first place, but then he kind of killed her again by saying, look that well, there you go. And him just also shout out to the guy who plays Miles, the kid who plays Miles, because he's really, really good. I don't think many people could just try and seriously look down the camera and go, meep, meep, and not just crack up laughing or make it, take you out of the moment being like, that's bloody ridiculous, that's hilarious. Maybe that was the case for some people, but I actually thought that was quite threatening, and I thought that was quite effective after his story about Wile E. Coyote. Thankfully, I do know who Wile E. Coyote is, otherwise that story would probably be like... but I think if people are watching Bly Manor, they are probably old enough to know Wile E. Coyote. Is that still a thing? Is that still on the Roadrunner kind of stuff? I'd imagine it must be, right? I hope so, otherwise I do feel very old. But regardless, it was awful. Again, the actress gave a great performance when she was like realising that she was dead. Again, that sequence with the interview with Owen, it's telling her something. He's like, right, remember, Miles is gone, Flora might be gone, you're dead. And that was what he was telling her in that cycle. It's such an interesting idea that everyone who dies in Bly always goes through that cycle, but sometimes they go to nice happy memories occasionally, whereas Peter just kept going back to that awful memory, and it kind of became his own personal hell, which is what he deserves, quite frankly. So yeah, I feel awful for Hannah, and I'm not looking forward to seeing how that's all going to conclude with her now that she's kind of accepted that. She's going to have to come to terms with it, and then that means bad things, I'm guessing. And we also got some answers about why some ghosts don't have faces. I guess that just happens when you're a ghost for long enough, and you just start fading away. So maybe you just fade away altogether. So obviously Peter needed a plan to get out of that, because he'd rather not have his face melt. So, so that's interesting. So that ghost that he kind of grabbed there was obviously one of the older ones in Bly, one of the first few to die. I think that was also the one, so I think it was the same room, I think that was the one that Flora hushed when it was humming along with her, when she was playing hide and seek. I think that was the same ghost. So I don't know if we're going to get more backstory about that. And then obviously Lady of the Lake ghost who grabbed Danny at the end. She's obviously one of the earlier ghosts as well. And I've always kind of imagined that she's like the head honcho ghost. So there's probably some history to that, there that they need to explore as well. But we still have 2 episodes, so there's plenty of time for that. I don't know how they're going to fill 2 episodes though. It feels like the next one should be the finale. We kind of have all the plans laid out. Like Miles is potentially possessed for good. Henry's on his way. Hannah knows she's dead. It feels like they've set up the final episode, and yet we have 2 left. So I'm very intrigued to see what they're going to do. But yeah, that was all very sad. And then the little glimpses we got in the flashbacks of like Hannah and Owen having the sweetest relationship. I love them. That was really lovely. Them kind of talking about cooking methods and dough and everything. And I also enjoyed Jamie in the flashbacks, and we're seeing more and more that she can talk the talk about how she doesn't get close to people and she doesn't think people are worth the effort. She'll rather just put the effort into plants. But, she went out of her way to kind of remind Rebecca, like, oh, you want this kind of position maybe with Henry. Like, you have the perfect chance right now. Go and tell him. Go and get that opportunity that you wanted. And then, like, seeing Rebecca floating in the lake and shielding Flora away from it and everything. Like, she does have a lot of care to give out in her. I think she's probably just scared of handing that out. Maybe that's from something in her past. Maybe she trusted the wrong person, etc. And that's why she's super shy about it. I mean, we got a lot of that backstory explained already, like last episode, I think it was. So to see that, I think she actually does care about people, and a lot of people, much more than she'd like to think. It's not good for her image in a way. Never let them know that you actually care. It was interesting to kind of see that that's not the case, and she actually is like a genuinely really nice person, in the guise of a much more laid back person, I would say. So I like seeing kind of glimpses of her as well in that moment. And then Danny just had it rough for the whole episode, basically tied up for the entire thing, being terrified out of her mind. But there was something really nice about seeing her and Rebecca have those interactions. Rebecca being like, you need to get her out of here. It's again that kind of the self-sacrifice in a way that Rebecca wasn't granted beforehand, because Peter kind of sacrificed her instead of her being able to make the choice to maybe sacrifice herself. I don't think she would have just killed herself if Peter had outright said, like, this is what you need to do, and that's why he kind of took over her body to do it. But he didn't give her the option to say either way, like, I'll do it myself. So she kind of reclaimed the self-sacrifice that was kind of forced upon her, by not allowing herself to take over Flora, sending her on her way with Danny. Didn't end particularly well, because almost instantly Danny was caught by Lady of the Lake. So that's not great. And last time we saw that happen to someone, it was Peter, wasn't it? And he died. So that's not looking great. We'll see what happens with that. Hopefully Danny can find a way out of it, but we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, it kind of all kicked off in some pretty major ways, and I am intrigued and nervous and worried and afraid of everything heading into the last 2 episodes, because damn, shit's hit the fan. But I loved all the backstory we were getting. I liked that they kind of explained why Peter may have come to be the way that he is, and doesn't excuse it, but at least we've got some reasons for it. Getting that insight was really interesting, and the whole plan unfolding, what his big end game goal was, and Rebecca's role in that. Everything with Hannah was heartbreaking as well. Just the idea of like Miles and Flora just wanting to see their parents again. Like, they're just grieving kids, and Peter knows that all too well, so he's exploiting them for that, for his own gain all over again, because what a prick. And that made me really sad, just them telling, like, just seeing like how much grief can destroy a child when they're that young and they have to go through all of it. So yeah, that was all really interesting, and everyone kind of brought their A game acting wise, particularly the guy who plays Peter, the boy who plays Miles, the actress who plays Hannah, I think it's Tiana, something like that. She was also great in that scene when she realised that she was dead. And the actress who plays Rebecca had a lovely moment as well, when she was like, lovely moment where she's screaming at her dead body. But that was also a fantastic performance too. So everyone's kind of really bringing it, and yeah, we'll see what they do with it in the next ones. But we've got lots of answers again, and I feel like a lot of the main pieces are in place now for just the resolution or non-resolution, whatever's going to happen. Maybe everyone's just going to drown. Who can say? But we've got a lot of answers, some great kind of character moments in there as well, some great explorations of themes like consent, and yeah, little snippets of some other characters in the flashbacks that I quite enjoyed getting as well. But yeah, things are getting a bit crazy, and I am intrigued to see what's going to happen next. But not going to be getting to that right now because it's currently 1 a.m. and I need to go to bed. But yeah, another really great episode. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next. And until my next reaction, thanks for watching.